Good to be together. It's been a while since we have shared the thought for the day, and it's an honor to be here today. A couple little announcements. Remember this Sunday, we start having worship at 8:30 and 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. And also, Lenny wanted me to mention that when you send a picture for the eternal light or for flowers, just go to the website, and there's an app right at the top of the website that you click on to give us your picture. So, hard to believe it was back in March of 2020 when the pandemic began, and we had our first thought for the day, and the passage was Ecclesiastes. For everything there is a season, there is a time for every matter under heaven. Boy, there are so many times, so many seasons. And I was thinking about the last few months when we haven't had the thought for the day, and even though I don't think it was my message or just me, but something was missing. Because the purpose of the thought for the day is for us to stay connected. And it's not about one person, but it's about just staying connected to this place, staying connected to the mission of the church and what we stand for. And I've missed that for the past 2 or 3 months. And it's good to be back together because, you know, there's such power in staying connected. When you feel connected, whether it's to your family or to your friends or to the church or to what you believe in, when you feel connected, it gives you kind of an inner power. It's like prayer. We pray for people that we don't know, and yet the power of prayer is in the connection that we share. I think of all the prayers personally that you have had for our son Aaron in his journey with cancer, and even though most of you have not met him, and even though he doesn't know most of you, there's such power in that connection of prayer. And when I feel disconnected, whether it's from somebody I know or from anybody in my family or the church, when I'm disconnected, something is missing. And so at the very foundation of our church is just that power of staying connected. And I hope that we continue to do that. This Sunday is 9/11, 21 years since that attack on our country. And I still remember that picture of President Bush at the time, who was reading stories to a school class, and in the middle of his story, someone walks in and whispers in his ear saying that we have been attacked. And my gosh, every one of us knows where we were when that happened. And even though it's easy to look back and say things were better, but in the middle of 9/11, boy, our country came together, didn't we? It didn't feel like there were Republicans and Democrats, or we were different because our ethnicity was different. Somehow the spirit of our country, the power and the goodness of what our flag stands for, it came together. And somehow in the midst of 9/11 and afterwards, our country became stronger and kinder and more gracious. And things feel a little bit different now. I mean, to me, the divisions seem deeper, and sometimes the anger is overwhelming, and sometimes that struggle to survive just to get through the pandemic has taken a lot out of a lot of us. In the middle of all that, one of the things that has affected me the most over the past few months is what's happening in Ukraine. And there's a gentleman on WGN who's a reporter in Ukraine. Every single day at 7:20, he is on the radio from Ukraine. And for the first time since he started doing this, when the battle started, he sounded scared. And he said, one of the things I'm scared about is that people are getting bored with what we're going through, that people are forgetting. And I thought about that all day yesterday. And so in the middle of the afternoon, I got my checkbook out. Maybe it was Peggy's checkbook. And I went over to the Ukrainian church, St. Peter and Paul. And I saw some cars there, and I knocked on the door, and I went into their kitchen. And there were a bunch of people there setting up for a wedding. And there was a big burly guy there. He looked like a Ukrainian farmer. And he said, "You're the reverend of that church, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Remember the service of peace? We sat next to each other?" And he said, "Yeah, well, you know, I married a Lutheran." And I said, "Wow, that's pretty good. And now one of my kids is getting married." And he said, "Well, and I hope you're raising your kids Lutheran." He said, "Oh, no. They are Orthodox Ukrainians." And then Father Vasil said, "You know, his church has not forgotten us. His church is supporting us through this whole thing. And one thing about that church over there, those Lutherans, is they do not forget." And I hope we never will forget. We'll never forget 9/11. We'll never forget our friends in Ukraine. We'll never forget the power of prayer that brings us together. And we will always know that when we stay connected and stay together, that's what our church is all about. Someone asked me, he says, "Don, is the church back to normal?" And I said, "I don't even know what normal is. Normal is today. And what's normal is the spirit that binds us together. And one thing I know that we'll never forget, and that is the power of kindness. Because it's the power of kindness that guides us and strengthens us." God, it's good to be back together. And I look forward to talking to you on Friday morning. God bless.